Hello, Art12. This is part 2 if you have water or ocean, because we needed to layer a little bit more. Plus we want to have some sand before the foreground, and we need to work on the water a little bit. So I'm going to use the smaller brush, and I'm going to take some of the lighter colors. I'm going to use like a light, well, just use a lighter color that goes in your color scheme. I'm going to use like a light orange. So this is the part that's supposed to be like the, the foam or the white part where the water meets the sand. And so I did put salt on there, so I'm going to kind of look at like where the little holes are that are already white. And kind of like how we did the clouds, I'm just going to kind of like dot my yellowy orange. I'm going to kind of like scribble a little bit with the small brush. And I want to leave, I'm just like trying to put like the shadow in there and kind of give it like some structure form. Just like a little bit. So it looks like different than the water. Kind of blotting and tapping my brush a little bit. And I'm going to do a slightly darker color, but I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. Just a little bit. Kind of tap it in there so it looks like watery. Then we're going to fix where that part meets the water. So we're going to build up the layers. I'm going to use a medium valued color, and I'm going to kind of like go along the edge, not totally outlining, but kind of trying to smoothen the waviness into the foamy part. Kind of add like another layer. This is with the small brush. So it looks like it's kind of rippling as it hits the foamy part, as it hits the sand. Kind of go in that same motion. So with like a layer on top. And you can kind of blot your brush a little bit as well. And I'm going to do a little bit less in here. I kind of want to just leave that so it's like the light is hitting. Okay, so I do feel like this front part needs a little bit more. So I'm going to go back and, especially on some of those bigger ones. And then when I have like less paint on my brush, I'm going to pull some of the wavy lines into the highlight part where the water is kind of hitting, or sorry, where the sun is hitting the water. And I'm going to do a couple little marks, just a little bit in the highlight part. Okay, so we're going to build up some layers just so it looks a little streakier and we have more range of value. Okay, I'm going to do the other side. I'm kind of pulling from the side of the page in, so you don't really see where it starts and stops. And I'd use some of your medium and darker colors. You can do some light ones, like if it doesn't have a whole lot of detail happening. Okay, so then with just like a little bit on my brush with some of the lighter medium, I'm going to go back and add a few little lines. And I'm barely touching my brush, so I'm holding it in the middle, but I'm holding it pretty vertical so I can use the tip of the brush, kind of draw in. So you want to keep it pretty horizontal where it meets the horizon line. Add a couple kind of darker little movement lines. Get some more range of it. Alright, I feel like that part needs to kind of fade out a little bit. Any place that you don't like how it looks, just kind of fix it a little. Okay. Now in the background, we're gonna add just a little bit. So I'm gonna choose up my lighter color. I could use yellow, but I'm gonna use this yellowy orange, and I'm gonna add like a few kind of streaky, subtle marks. Like you're kind of adding it, but then like wiping off the brush in a way. I just want like a little bit of detail. Just a little bit. And I don't love that horizon line, so I'm actually going to go over it with my light color, my lightest color, my yellowy orange. I'm going to get rid of that. And I want that pencil to go away. We're going to see if we can actually erase some of that pencil later on. Okay, and I'm going to fade that line down a little. Okay, a little bit of orange on this side. Just kind of wiping off my brush and a streaky line. Okay, so I'd say that's good for the water. And then for the foreground, I'm going to switch to my bigger brush, and I'm going to get just water on my brush. And I'm going to outline the frothy part where the foam meets the sand, keeping in mind that we're going to get darker. So you want like a medium valued color, or like a light version of a dark color that goes with your color scheme. So I outlined with just water. Now I'm going to pull some water down. You can use salt on the sand if you want. I did rub off the salt that was on the foamy part. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of tap close to the edge. So and it's okay if you have a little bit of white showing. Like that could be the foam too. Okay. I'm gonna add a little bit of the pink or red. Some wet on wet. And then I'm gonna do just water. I'm gonna fade it down. So I'm holding my brush in the middle. And the foreground is gonna cover a lot of this. I just didn't want a weird gap like where the water meets the sand. Go back and make that a little bit darker. So using just water on my brush, fading that down. Okay, so you're gonna have to set this aside. You could put salt on there if you wanted to. Actually, I might like add a little bit more. If you want it kind of speckly, you could definitely add some, and you want it to look like sand, you could definitely add some salt. I'm gonna kind of leave that as is, although I do want it to be a little bit darker. Only because I really want the foamy part to show. And take just water, kind of fade it out. So notice how I took the water all the way to the edge, all the way around, and then we'll come back and we'll add a foreground. So you are going to have to let this dry before you draw the foreground in there. Okay, that was part 2 of the water. So you want to add a few streaks in the highlight part, probably add another layer, kind of like scribble with your paintbrush, but leave white showing between. So it looks like water is hitting the beach. All right. Okay, you guys, we'll see you in the next video.